Hi, Kings fans. Welcome back to the Frozen Crown and another weekly review of your Kings hockey. For this week, we have week 5, a week where the Kings went 3-0 and beat the teams that they should beat, as a lot of these guys were not necessarily going to be playoff teams, and the Kings were inconsistent, maybe taking 2 steps forwards, 1 step back this whole year, and finally string together 3 wins in a row. I believe they're 4 wins in a row officially, but for a nice solid week of 3 wins in a row, very happy to see that as a Kings fan. If you remember from my preview of this week, I did say that I expected them to win all 3 games, so I'm happy to see they met expectations there, and I think that the Kings are really starting to turn things around and maybe get some consistency for becoming that playoff team that they should this year. So we're going to get started by talking about the game against Minnesota, a win 1-0. If you remember, this is very different from the last time they played the Wild. The last time they played, I believe they won 7-6. I think it's still the highest scoring game in the NHL this year so far. So I think that the Kings purposely started slow. I think Todd McLellan preached patience and wanted to really make sure that the Kings played a defensive first game to not recreate some of the same mistakes they had against the Wild last game. But I do think that maybe they took that message a little too far. I think they showed way too much patience in this game. Maybe just holding on to the puck for too long or not shooting it when they should have, or maybe just trying to, I guess, kind of coast their way into a win. It just didn't really seem like they had the pressure that they should have against the Wild, a team that's basically had no Kaprizov for some of that game, and also had some other injuries that really caused them to be one of the lower talented teams right now. We should have kind of jumped on that, but with Todd McLellan preaching the patience, I don't know if we really were able to receive that message and still jump on the team. So we still end up getting the win, but I did think we had too much patience, and that was mostly seen in the horrible power play. Now, in this game, we saw Kempe get uppercut to the face by Matt Dumba. We did not punish them for that. We saw Kaprizov get a high-sticking major, maybe it was roughing. I'm not sure what the major was, but he got a game misconduct, 5 minutes on the power play, and we can't punish him for that. So other teams are going to start seeing that our power play is so poor that they're going to just start taking liberties against our best players, Doughty and Kempe certainly being the best guys. We can't allow these guys to get punched in the face or get hit in the face with a stick. We have to punish other teams. So making it not just about scoring, but also about teaching these other teams a lesson, like don't mess with our best guys or we're going to make you pay. That's what we need to see on this power play. And it should motivate the guys to see on the bench that our best guys are getting beat up and we can't go out there and punish them. It's tough to see that as a Kings fan to see us not able to punish teams when they're being dirty to us. So really hard to see that. But the game did end in a one goal win. We had, I think it was Velarde scored in the slot there to make this game a 1-0 win. And I think the Quick was solid this game. Really no crazy saves or anything out of the ordinary. But as a goaltender, if you can just make the saves that you need to for a game when your team's playing well defensively, that's all we need you to do so that we can get a win. So I thought he was solid. I thought the team was not solid in this game. I think they may have just been a little too eager to please McLellan here and wanted to play things patiently. And maybe if they would have played against a better team, they probably would have lost this game. So still got the win. It was good to see, but definitely need to have a little more killer instinct on the power play and against a team that's got their best player out of the game, and also some injuries across their roster. Next, we'll move on to the game against Chicago. A game that I was interested to see how they would respond, how the Kings would respond after losing to Chicago in a game that they probably should not have last time. And it kind of just turned out to be the Philip Deneau show. So not in the face-off side of things. He did really poorly there. Jonathan Toews really had his number all night, but he had the game-winning assist with like 2 seconds left, and then he also scored a goal. So really just took over this game, really made it a game that we could have easily lost this one again, just like we could have lost against Minnesota, but Phil Deneau took over. I was happy to see that. And I do think that the commitment to playing defense is paying off. So we had McLellan kind of preach about patience and defense on the last game, but they still kind of kept that mentality here against Chicago. And we don't need to win every game 6-5. And I don't think it's good for the goaltender's psyche to be winning games 6-5. So committing to defense, making sure that we play the right way first, and just getting our opportunities where they naturally will come, result in good games. So I'm glad to see the commitment to defense paying off, and glad to see consistency for Quick. And those two definitely are not just a mistake, that those are correlated. Those two are definitely correlated. When the team plays more consistent defense, the goaltenders will have more consistent performance as well. One thing I did see here that was very upsetting to me was our number one goal scorer and arguably the best forward so far this season, next to Fiala. Gabe Vilardi wasn't out there for the entire overtime. So the overtime went like 4 minutes and 58 seconds, and Vilardi sat the bench the entire time. I'm not sure if this is a situation where McClellan doesn't trust him in this 3-on-3 defensive format, but he's too good to not have out there. I would much rather see him out there than Arvidsson. I think Arvidsson has been playing very poorly so far this year. So I'd like to see Vilardi out there get a shot in overtime. Usually McClellan's pretty good about putting guys in and pulling guys when they're not performing well. So we'll look to see that maybe in the next overtime. We can see if he gets any minutes in there for the 3-on-3. Next, we'll go into the last game of the week, which was against Detroit, where we saw huge strides taken on the power play. Both the second power play and the first power play looked much better here. I think Durzi did a great job as a power play 2 quarterback. We had a couple times where he did a good job holding the puck in the zone. One time it was a failed clear where the puck was kind of slowly exiting the zone, and instead of backing out, he did step up and kept the puck in. Then we also saw him on his goal. He went very aggressively down low when he saw the opportunity open up, and just doing a good job kind of managing the flow. He's fast and moves the puck fast when he needs to, but he also slows it down when he needs to. That's what you need out of a quarterback. So I was happy to see that. And I was also very happy to see Kopitar as the net front guy for the first line power play. If you'll remember, when Vilardi first got promoted to be the power play 1 net front guy, he did have some success, but I don't think that's where he's best suited. I think he's too high skilled to be just the guy taking up space in front of the net. But Kopitar, he is a better board battler than Vilardi. Vilardi's a little more shifty on the boards, but Kopitar can help win those battles and create loose pucks for our guys to retrieve. So I was happy to see that, and we'll take a look at that in this week's video breakdown. We'll take a look at how Kopitar created a loose puck and ended up winning a board battle for a chance by Vilardi, actually. Now, Peterson did get the W. I was happy to see him come in and still provide enough of a goaltending performance where we could still get a win. I don't think he cost us anything. He did have one goal where I thought he should have made the save. Again, something we'll look at in the video review. But I think that Peterson is still struggling to find his step here, find his rhythm. And maybe next week with 4 games, he can maybe play 2 of them, and we'll see if he can find more of a rhythm. The one thing that I did get upset by was seeing another 6-on-5 goal against. And this is against the same team. Last time they gave up 6-on-5 goal, it was against Detroit again, down by 1 to tie it up and push into overtime. But then this one, they let in 1 when they were down by 2, and they almost got scored on again by Dylan Larkin after the game was pulled within 1. So I think they don't have much aggression here. Everyone's just standing around watching in 6-on-5 and just hoping to be in the lane. But if you don't get aggressive here, the players nowadays in the NHL are too good. They're going to be able to find the open guy, especially when they have one more guy than you do. So there's less open ice here in the 6-on-5. There's 11 guys all like contained within that small offensive zone area. I think you have a little more time to be aggressive. I think there's a little less space to work with, so you can be more aggressive. And if you chase a guy into a bad position where he has to make a play, that's normally you're going to push him into another player on your team and not necessarily into open ice. That's why you don't see it so much in the 3-on-3 where guys get real aggressive and forecheck or backcheck really hard on a guy, because if you do end up getting stepped around, then it creates a whole lot of open ice. But you're almost twice as many people in the 6-on-5. I'd like to see the Kings be a little more aggressive here, to where they can force guys to make errors as opposed to just allowing them to take shot after shot, because eventually it will go in. Now, the silver lining to that is that they still did get the goal and they swept the week. So that was my expectation. I'm glad to see that they did it. And really 3 teams that they should have beat. They beat them all, and I think they beat them all pretty convincingly, especially when you consider getting a shutout and you consider that, none of these games did you ever feel like the Kings were like really behind or off their game. They were playing good games from one period to the next. So the games, the scoreboard, either one goal victory margins on all of them, but never did it feel like the Kings were out of control or losing the game. So for our summary, this week, the commitment to defense had to have been something that was preached by the coaching staff, and it worked. I think that coaching staff probably got a little too tired of seeing all these 6-5 games and things get a little crazy. It's not necessarily the Kings game that they want to play super run and gun. I think they have the talent to do it when they need to, but they put themselves in a situation where they needed to more often than not. It was really good to see no bad games for Quick. His team did play better in front of him, and he played well as a result. So happy to see that. I think he's taking the lead, is definitely the number one guy, and he's playing like a starting goaltender now. The special teams are still inconsistent. I'm not sure if we'll see the power play stick the way that it was on the Detroit game, but I think it did really much better on the Detroit game. And we'll hopefully see that Kopitar in the front net more often throughout the year. But yeah, we're beating the teams that we should, and that's the way you get in the playoffs. Is just making sure that you beat the teams you should, and then if you give other teams, even power or like really good playoff teams, if you give them a run for their money and maybe win a few of those, but then you beat the teams that you should get in the playoffs. So that's the goal, and we're making sure that we're on track for that. Next, we're going to look at the key performers this week. I'm going to start off by looking at our goaltender, Jonathan Quick. I think we can say this is his best week he's had all season, where he had only one goal against, and he had 52 saves out of 53 shots, 2 wins. The save percentage is probably 98 or so. So very good game, 2 games out of him, and we'll see how he can follow it up next week. He may be in a situation where he plays 3 out of 4 in a week where he might be getting a little tired. So we'll see how he bounces, how he continues this week. Next is Danault. I think he really stole the show, like I said, in that Chicago game, but he also had really good games, both offensively and defensively. That's the great thing about him, man, is even if he's not scoring, he is creating great defense and really just doing an all-around good job as a forward, playing both sides of the ice. But a goal and 3 assists, 4 points in 3 games, that's a lot for Danault, but he's also a +3, and I just think that he's, that perfect number 2 center behind Kopitar. Next is Kevin Fiala. Scored 2 goals, but also just creating a lot of chances. He is easily the most talented forward we have. He creates offense almost every time he's in the zone. So it's hard to leave him off, even when he doesn't have an amazing game on the score sheet. 2 goals in 3 games isn't amazing, but you watch him play, you see how many chances he creates. He's just the guy. It's great to watch. The next, last but not least, we have Sean Durzi. So he did have 2 goals in the Detroit game, but I think that his play beyond just the Detroit game was much better, and it's seen in his deployment as well. I think McClellan put him in for over 20 minutes time on ice for across all 3 games this week, but he's on the penalty kill and he's on the power play. So he's kind of getting thrust into a position on both sides of special teams, and I think he has struggled on the penalty kill this year, and he has not looked amazing on the power play, but especially in that Detroit game, he really looked good on the power play, and in the penalty kill, I think he's starting to shore it up too. So I'm glad to see him taking a step with guys like Edler and Walker and other people who are just kind of just okay. We need another guy who's going to step in and be kind of emerge as a role player on the defense, and it seems like Durzi might be starting to do that. So good week out of him. I'd love to see him follow it up, and especially on that power play, continue to provide more chances, as that power play too has some weapons. Now, as we do every week, we're going to take a look at who's in the doghouse. And for me, Victor Arvidsson right at the top. I believe he's been in the doghouse might be 3 weeks now, 3 out of 5 weeks. And similar to Danault, where Danault creates good plays on both sides of the ice, regardless of whether he's on the score sheet. he still does do well for the team. It's not the case with Arvidsson. If Arvidsson isn't scoring, he's really not doing anything for the team. He's not a great, guy who's hustling back and breaking up offensive chances for the other team, and he's not really, like a high drive checking guy like Lemieux or Lazat. If he's not creating chances, he's invisible out there. So this week he only got 1 assist. He was a +2, but that's probably more so to the complimenting of his teammates than of him. And only 4 shots for a guy that rips a lot of shots. To rip 4 shots in 3 games, it's just not good enough. I have Fiala coming back from injury hopefully soon. We've got other guys on the wings who are looking to be more of a presence, especially, like Fiala could come in on that second line. I'm just not sure where Arvidsson fits in this lineup right now if he continues to struggle with the second line that's doing well, other than him. Dano and Moore are both doing very well. And then Peterson in the doghouse as well, only because I think he needs to start getting some games in here where he's above 900 save percentage. And in the week 5 video breakdown, we'll take a look at some easy things that Peterson could clean up to help himself here, make a few more of these saves. But game after game, just below 900, it's not going to cut it. Now, he is still getting the wins, but that's usually, if you got a save percentage of 85%, that's usually more so that your team is getting the win than you are earning the win. So 2 guys I definitely think were anticipated to be bigger pieces of the Kings team so far this year, and both of them, like I said, both these guys have been in the doghouse before this year. So not what I'm looking to see out of either of these guys, specifically Peterson, as he's the guy kind of stepping up, supposed to be the #1 goalie this year. Now for our preview of week number 6. So week 6 is slated for 4 games, all of which are Pacific games. So big games for the standing implications here. And I'm going to take a look at the Pacific standings. I pulled them up here and pasted them into the slides so you guys could see where we stand. Surprisingly, I think some of these teams are a little bit lower than we thought. Edmonton and Calgary come to mind as guys who we probably thought would be number 1 and number 2 this year. But Vegas off to a good start. I'm not surprised by that. They do have a lot of good talent on their team. It's surprising to see Seattle at 3 and Edmonton and Calgary at 4 and 5. I would have thought they would probably be Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary 1, 2, and 3, and then LA right behind with Seattle in 5th. But I'm glad to see LA's up there, but I would not be surprised to see some really tough games, specifically the first 2 with Calgary and Edmonton. So that is November 14th against Calgary. That's Monday, coming up tomorrow. Then the 16th against Edmonton, 18th against Vancouver, and the 19th against Seattle. So there's a back-to-back. I'm sure we'll see both goalies in that back-to-back. But don't underestimate any of these games. If they're a Pacific Division opponent, you're probably going to see a lot of effort and see, really the best game out of all these teams. So if we can get some wins against some of these guys in regulation, that's what I'm looking for. I don't expect us to win every game this week. I think there's just going to be too many times when these teams are really hungry and wanting to get a win against us to move up in the standings. But to at least see, 500 or more record here, and then get some good experience in for guys like Quick or Peterson to get some more consistency in net. That's what I'm looking for our Week 6 preview. So that concludes this Week 5 review and Week 6 preview. I appreciate everyone tagging along for me this season with the week by week as we go through. We'll probably start to transfer more to a game-by-game review segment to see how that goes. So I appreciate you guys sticking along all season long as we continue to look at the Los Angeles Kings week by week and game by game. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next video.